Hey everybody, I'm hoping that you're all doing great. So somebody very special visited us for breakfast, today, and we have Devvrat. Welcome. Devvrat has been part of the Litmus family. He has done some amazing outcomes this season after preparing properly with us. He has also gone on to convert some of the key colleges like NMIMS, SIBM Pune, and some of the IIMs, including IIM Shillong, is awaited. So we'll understand the journey of Devvrat's very interesting journey. He's travelled all the way from Indore to Gurgaon, and we obviously want to thank him for the entire trouble that he's taken, and he's come here and we are meeting him. Welcome, Devvrat.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a lovely breakfast.
Thank you so much.
Time.
So we are spending some great time together, and we are sort of rejoicing, reminiscing the time that we've spent together, as family, learning the core concepts. सबसे पहले Devvrat, let me ask you, how did this idea of MBA come to you in the first place? सोचा कैसे कि MBA करना चाहिए?
Sir, जब मैंने start किया था, I started working. I almost worked for 3 years, and उसके बाद I felt there's a gap, and I could see a stagnation in my growth further. So that is when I realized that an MBA is pertinent for me to further grow.
Understood. And Devvrat, you are somebody from a hotel management background.
Yes, sir.
And not a lot of people think that MBA is the next career progression after hotel management, or maybe some people do. But what do you want to sort of tell people in terms of their thought process of an MBA should be? कैसे realization करें कि मेरा next step MBA होना चाहिए? तुमने कैसे सोचा? मतलब there are a lot of things to opt for.
Yes, sir.
But why MBA only?
So like you said, I did graduation in hotel management. After that, I worked in Marriott for a year. I switched to facility management, worked there. So there was a big gap in certain skills. For example, I was doing planning, but I was doing planning only for a single site. It was not impacting anywhere as such. And also skills like accounting, financial understanding was lacking. So that is when I realized that MBA will help me over there. So that is when I started preparing for it.
Understood. And when you started off an MBA, होटल मैनेजमेंट वाली जर्नी के बारे में पहले बात करते हैं देवव्रत।
Yes, sir.
जिनको नहीं पता, मतलब बहुत सारे लोग ऐसे होंगे जो ग्रेजुएशन कर रहे हैं या ग्रेजुएशन करने वाले हैं, सोच रहे हैं कि होटल मैनेजमेंट जर्नी कैसी होती है। बाहर से बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग लगता है कि भाई मैरियट देख रहे हैं, ताज देख रहे हैं, मज़ा आ रहा है, ठीक है। सो व्हाट इज द होटल मैनेजमेंट जर्नी फ्रॉम द इनसाइड? यू कैन ऑल्सो डू अ लिटिल बिट ऑफ फॉल्ट फाइंडिंग ऑल्सो, एब्सोल्युटली योर व्यू, योर पर्सपेक्टिव।
Yes, sir. So hotel management, it looks very good from the outside, but when we start working, it is tough. It is actually a very tough job because it is very demanding, and not just demanding in terms of your mental presence, but physical labor goes into it. So I was into F&B, and banquets is something which requires a lot of heavy shifting, with moving tables across locations. So that is something where a lot of energy goes in. I joined during COVID. I joined Marriott. So in my first month, I was going through training. That was somewhere still an easy period for me, where I was doing 10 hours, 12 hours. But post that, the second wave had come of COVID, and I was almost doing about 18 hours, 19 hour shifts on a daily basis.
Okay.
So it's a tough life, but it is fun. You're learning a lot of things. You're interacting with so many different kinds of people. So that brings a lot of difference to your perspective.
And maybe eating international cuisines?
Definitely. You get that opportunity to try it, because it's of course being cooked for the guests, but then there are also tasting sessions that happen at the back end also.
Okay.
So that as a server, you know what you're serving.
Okay.
So,
and if I talk about the hotel management industry after let's say graduation, right? Do you think it's something which is very well rewarding in terms of CTC, in terms of salary?
not really, sir. So after investing 3 years, if you're not getting into a management training program, you're struggling with the initial pays, because you're starting as an associate, which is the basic lowest rung of a hotel industry.
Okay.
So the salary is also not as good as the work is.
So मतलब जितना काम है, because for example let's say you are describing के कभी-कभी ऐसे 15-16 घंटे भी हो जाता है.
Yes, sir.
Correct. For example बहुत सारे consultants करते हैं after MBA 15-16 hours.
Yes, sir.
So is it safe to say that people starting with hotel management tend to get anywhere between 20, 25, 30,000, or is it slightly higher than that?
So actually, it is surprisingly it's less than that.
It's less than that.
Yes, sir.
It's very surprising actually.
After doing a 3-year course, if you're not a management trainee, you're starting at 15 to 18 is the average.
Achha, and you get to become a management trainee if you get a campus placement from there.
So even in a campus placement, there are options. You may be placed as an associate or a management trainee. That is up to your caliber.
So if you get placed as an associate, you are earning even less than 20,000.
Yes, for sure.
And then as a management trainee, what's the difference?
As the management trainee, your role changes. You're doing the role of an associate as well as an executive.
Okay.
So as a management trainee, I had the opportunity to start a restaurant all over again. So during COVID, the restaurant had been shut down, and I started the entire operations for it. And that was primarily because I was a management trainee. I was directly reporting to the operation manager of that hotel, and that's how that's the basic difference. You have the opportunities more.
And the pay is also different.
Yes, it is slightly different. It varies from 25 to 30.
25 to 30. Understood. So again, and even with the top players like Marriott, Sheraton, let's say Taj, is it
yes, sir. It
still
is
the same?
It is on almost on similar levels, hardly some difference.
Okay. So in terms of pay, obviously hotel management field is not very supportive. And the work hours are also sort of
Yes,
very I would say gruesome,
Yes, sir.
taking a lot of time, a lot of energy. Okay. And how would you look at the career path? So hotel management में generally career path कैसा होता है? बहुत सारे लोग जो hotel management करना चाहते हैं, who might be watching this, तो career path कैसा होता है? जैसे मान लो associate से start किया, तो फिर क्या career paths होते हैं?
So depends on which field you are in, which department you are in. So I primarily was an F&B. So lowest if you take also 2 years as an associate, further 2 years as an executive, then an assistant restaurant manager, then assistant F&B manager. Then it depends hotel to hotel. Somewhere it is a beverage manager, a food and beverage manager, or an assistant director F&B. So those are the scales. So gradually you grow up to a GM on those lines. Surprisingly, up to this is of last year I'm talking. The NCHMT conducts this exam. Now they have 10,000 seats last year, only 6,000 applicants. While just 5 years back it was 5,000 seats, but almost 40-50,000 applicants.
What is this exam about? As in,
This
where
is-
did they place you?
This is the exam for IHMs. So like JEE takes you to IIT.
Okay.
So NCHMT conducts this exam for IHMs.
Okay. So for the IHMs, you have 10,000 seats and there are only 6,000 applicants.
Yes, this is of last year.
So primarily not a lot of demand.
This because again there's a lot of difference in the work that you're putting in versus what you're actually getting in return.
Understood.
So that is now realized by a lot of people. Therefore, a lot of people are shifting from there.
So there are people who are moving out of hotel management
Yes.
industry. Understood. So then you thought of doing something else and taking up the MBA journey.
Yes, sir.
Understood. Okay. Then if I talk about your journey of preparation, so MBA के बारे में सोच लिया फिर क्या हुआ? मतलब how did you go about finding कि कैसे तैयारी करनी है, क्या करना है?
Sir, first attempt मैंने नवंबर में दिया था, given it November 23, and that time I scored 77 percentile. I had not studied at all. It was just next day is the exam. Today I decided, okay, I'll take leave today, and I prepared a bit, gave the exam, and that's about it. But I was not serious for that particular exam. After that, I started preparing with a coaching institute, but realized there's a big gap in terms of what I'm expecting, because I have certain places where I'm missing, or I was not having that personalized mentorship. So that is when I actually connected with you in August.
Yes.
Over a call. And then things all of a sudden took a turn for me, and I realized that is when I actually started preparing for my exam.
With Litmus, I'm hoping that it was and it has been an enriching journey so far. But if you could tell us a little bit more to all the people, in terms of how did you go about preparation? What all did you do? You have cracked some of the colleges already, and there are some colleges awaited for you also. Some good IIMs awaited, like IIM Shillong is there.
Yes, sir.
So if you could talk us a little bit about what did you do or how did you go about doing it?
Okay.
And what challenges did you face during your preparation?
So initially, I started my preparation with the basic subjects. When we first connected, you'd given us a breakdown of this is how things are, and I started with a mock test because I felt that giving a mock test will actually tell me where I stand. So that is when I started seeing that okay, this is where I'm lacking. Started preparing on those lines. We had classes of every subject individually also. So those were really helpful because I would realize that okay, this is something that is missing, and that would be covered in maybe the next class or the next to next class, but it would be covered. So by the end, towards the end, when we were reaching the exam, I realized that between what I was studying versus what is expected in the exam, there was no gap. That was all covered very well. And I put in, initially I started putting in somewhere around 3 to 4 hours, and somewhere in October I was studying about 8 hours. Towards November it dialed down because I started giving mocks. There were times when I gave mocks, scores did not come in. I was disappointed, I would call you straight, sir, I have not done well. So there were times like those also. But the factor that I really want to do an MBA was what pushed me to, it's okay, you've got this, still there's another mock left.
Keep fighting.
So yes. So that continued. For me, challenges, some of the challenges were there was always a lot of disturbance at home. We've shifted to a new place, so construction was going on, new houses also being built. So throughout there was construction going on, so there was too much of noise. A lot of family members stay in my house. So we had to keep on, I had to help someone out, I would take someone to the hospital. So those were things which were constantly troubling me during the studies. However, I would still find about 2 hours, 3 hours wherein I was able to dedicatedly study.
Yeah.
So that started shifting towards the night later on. I was an early sleeper. So initially I attended most of the sessions on recorded sessions. But eventually I started attending them live because that also created an opportunity for me to interact. I was able to ask questions which I would get stuck. So those were things that helped me then.
Absolutely. And Devvrat, a lot of people ask me, okay, sir, who should start with Litmus or who should prepare with Litmus? And typically what I also tell them is that you should ask my students. Okay. Basis your view, who is somebody who should prepare with Litmus?
Anyone who is actually willing to achieve should prepare with Litmus, because personally I realized that any coaching center, I have seen people from other coaching centers also, wherein physical ones also they would go, but the teacher would just come, teach and leave. So there was no guidance as such, there was no mentorship, there was no one-on-one sessions. Here it was entirely a different game. From the very first call to me converting colleges, I was able to connect with mentors, I was able to connect with you, I was able to get guidance when I was feeling that okay, I'm not able to take a decision, I'm getting stuck. So anyone who's actually wanting to achieve, or they've had a dream, they want to reach somewhere, in those cases I would recommend anyone for it.
Understood. Devvrat, basis this conversation, एक और important चीज़ है जो मैं highlight करना चाहूँगा, and this one is something for the authorities also, and I'd request all the viewers to help us really disseminate it big time, ताकि ये बहुत सारे students के साथ ना हो. Devvrat, I remember having this conversation with you after CAT, जहाँ पे you talked about all the difficulties that you faced inside the CAT center from an administration standpoint. I would really want you to talk about it and talk with all the passion so that this reaches people. A lot of people face issues with CAT center, problems at the CAT center. ZAT के अंदर और भी ज़्यादा कठिनाई लोगों को हुई, लोगों किसी को पेपर नहीं मिल रहा है रफ वर्क करने के लिए. I mean, like, what is this? This is not something which is expected from the top institutions conducting exams of this prominence. So let us hear Devvrat's story कि Devvrat ने क्या face किया इस साल CAT exam में.
Rightly said, sir. While you were saying, I actually got goosebumps because I had actually prepared very hard for the CAT examination, and for me this was a do and die kind of a situation. I was faring well enough. When I reached the CAT center, I saw the paper. So first instance, the CAT exam got to me because unlike the usual pattern, it was all jumbled up. So I could not find where the RCs were, where the other questions were. But eventually I got through it, did my English, was locked out in English also for a couple of minutes, but got back into the section. After that, did my DILR fairly well, moved on to cons. The moment I clicked on the second question, my system switched off and it said server error, kindly call the admin to restart the exam. So I initially had to wait for 5 minutes after raising my hand. I waited for 5 minutes for the person to come, he worked on it, so it almost took about 20-25 minutes from me during that particular section. After that, I was told by that person that you'll get that time extra after everyone's exam is completed. You sit and you continue your exam. So I agreed on that, so that was still a little bit comforting. But the moment everyone's exam shut down, even for me that exam closed. And when I asked, they said that this is from the server end and we will not be able to help you with this. So your exam is over.
So how much time did you lose in this entire
I would say somewhere around 25 minutes is a ballpark figure which I can say that this is what I lost.
Okay.
and most of it was in cons primarily.
And still you managed to get some amazing calls, converted some amazing calls, goes to show the determination, Devvrat.
Yes, sir. After my CAT exam, I remember I came out, my parents were there. I did not speak a word for at least an hour because I was disturbed. I knew at that point that okay, I've lost all of it because I was also not sure of the kind of answers on BRC and all. But after that, I connected with you. After 2 days, I connected with you. Sir, I've lost this. You said it's okay. We still have 3 more exams. Go for it. And that's when I again started preparing. I was even more determined. So I was initially doing 8 hours, 9 hours to SCAT. I switched to 12 hours, 13 hours for other exams. And that's how I got through them also.
Absolutely amazing, Devvrat. And I think 2 things to learn. पहले तो I would appeal to the authorities कि ऐसा किसी स्टूडेंट के साथ नहीं होना चाहिए जो एक पूरा सीजन प्रिपेयर कर रहा है और उसके बाद एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन की गलती से, सर्वर इश्यूज से, आईटी इश्यूज से उसका एक इम्पॉर्टेंट एग्जाम खराब हो जाए. बिकॉज फिर आप खुद ही बाद में उससे पूछेंगे कि गैप ईयर क्यों हो गया, फिर आप बाद में उससे पूछेंगे कि यहाँ क्या हो गया, वहाँ क्या हो गया. अगर वो फॉल्ट फाइंडिंग करेंगे तो आप बोलेंगे कि भाई आप ब्लेम कर रहे हो लोगों को, आप अपने लेवल पे काम क्यों नहीं करते. तो ये आई थिंक अथॉरिटीज़ को करना चाहिए. I would really request the IIMCAT and the top exam conducting authorities, okay, please take a note of this and request the team to please share it with so many people so that it reaches the right people and this gets highlighted. Because अगर आप अभी ये नहीं कर रहे हैं तो हो सकता है ये आपके साथ हो जाए अगले सीजन में. तो बी केयरफुल, ये इंपॉर्टेंट मामला है, इसको हाईलाइट ज़रूर करना है हम लोगों को. एंड सेकेंड इंपॉर्टेंट एलिमेंट जो मैं हर इंसान को बोलता हूँ कि अगर आपने एक सीज़न अच्छे से तैयारी करी है, ठीक है, दैट वन थिंग इज समथिंग दैट आई कैन सर्टनली से फॉर देवव्रत. आई हैव बीन अ पार्ट ऑफ हिज जर्नी एंड अ पार्ट ऑफ जर्नीज ऑफ ऑल द पीपल एट लिटमस. I have kept connecting with them, and one thing which I can tell you is that for any sincere candidate, ऐसा नहीं हो सकता है कि अगर आपने बहुत अच्छे से तैयारी करी, एक एग्जाम आपका गड़बड़ हो गया, आपको कोई कॉलेज नहीं मिलेगा. ठीक है, इवन आफ्टर लूजिंग 25 मिनट्स इन कैट, आप सोचो जहाँ पे लोग 2 घंटे का एग्जाम दे रहे हैं, आप 1.5 घंटे का एग्जाम दे रहे हो, उसके बाद भी आपके पास IIM शिलोंग एंड कुछ अच्छे कॉलेज बन गए, आपने NMAT के थ्रू NMIMS कन्वर्ट कर लिया, आपने स्नैप में अच्छा फोड़ा, आपने SIBM अपना CMHRD कन्वर्ट कर लिया. तो आई थिंक ये बहुत बड़ी बात है किसी भी इंसान के लिए. एंड आई वुड से कि आप सारे एग्जाम्स लें, थोड़ा बहुत मिसहैप भी कभी हो सकता है, इस चीज़ को आप फैक्टर इन ज़रूर करिए एंड सारे के सारे एग्जाम्स लीजिए. देवव्रत, एग्जाम के बाद वाले पीरियड के बारे में थोड़ी सी बात करते हैं. हाउ इज द पोस्ट कैट प्रेप जर्नी फॉर यू? GDPI का जर्नी कैसा रहा एंड व्हाट्स योर एक्सपीरियंस बिन, क्या सीखने को मिला?
Sir, it was a fantastic experience and an eye-opener because कुछ interviews had already started and then there was some domain session that was happening and you asked who would be 2 people who would like to participate as volunteers and I was one of them and you grilled me in that session. You asked me a question which took me 8 days to actually come to an answer that okay, this can be an answer. But yes, that was when it all changed. I was never into following politics, never into following economics, but the domain sessions actually build that interest, that why this is happening or how is it affecting other things. For example, this season we saw that climate change was impacting marketing. How, and this was a question which was asked in a lot of interviews also.
Correct.
Some were asked to me, sometimes it was asked to my other friends also. But this was a question that came up. So how are 2 things which are totally different yet impacting each other? That was something which I actually learned, those connections in the domain sessions. The domain session would happen at night. They were fun. They were very interactive. I remember the economic session just before the budget had come out. And it was so interactive. I remember almost everyone was speaking on their views about it, how it is going to impact some things. So it was really fun. Not just a lot of learning, but a lot of fun for, I am sure, for all of us.
Correct. Understood. So, Devvrat, what were your scores if you remember? I'm sure you would in NMAT, SNAP, these exams. I believe these exams were fine for you, but not
Yes.
disturbed.
Even for CAT, despite the challenge, I had scored 93.9%.
Okay.
For NMAT, it was 253.
253, that's a great score.
And for SNAP, it was close to 98.5. I'm not sure, somewhere in the difference of 0.0 something.
Yeah. So I think amazing scores, Devvrat, despite CAT challenge and the pressure that it creates. Obviously,
Yes, definitely.
it's a mental pressure. So Devvrat, you've done well this season, and I must congratulate you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Very happy for the way it has turned out so far, and the results awaited as of now. So I'm hopeful that we'll gain something out of that as well.
Yes, sir.
Devvrat, what would you want to say to people जो इस साल प्रिपेयर कर रहे हैं, उनसे क्या कहना चाहोगे? अपनी जर्नी से रिलेटेड क्या चीज़ें हैं जो तुम लोगों को बताना चाहोगे जो उनको हेल्प करे इस सीजन के अंदर?
So some primary takeaways were, one is to not give up because there will be a lot of ups and downs. There will be times when you're feeling you know everything, but then the very next day probably you'll feel you can't even solve a simple puzzle. So there'll be ups and downs, but I'll say that not to give up is one big this thing. And secondly, I'll say be consistent, because despite my challenges where I had to go to hospitals also a lot of times, I was able to give at least 3 to 4 hours irrespective on a daily basis. Third thing, after you've put in say a month, 1.5 months, your body somewhere, for me it was there that I would feel drained out. There would come a peak point where after that I was not able to actually think clearly. So I would take a break for a day and then get back onto it. So breaks are also important.
Understood. So I'm hoping that everybody is going to follow some of these pointers which Devvrat has mentioned. Try it out. I'm sure it is going to be helpful. Devvrat, coming to the fun part.
Yes,
You've
sir.
traveled all the way on a bike from Indore to Gurgaon.
Yes, sir.
What is this journey like? And I'm sure it is exciting, but how do you go about it? Do you do that very often?
Sir, I've done smaller trips before. So on a bike, this is the first long trip that I'm doing. And it is primarily because, again, this is one opportunity that I have. Once I get into a B school, I'm sure time will not allow this.
Yes.
And post B school also, it is going to be a tough session for at least a few years.
Yes.
So I thought this is an opportunity. I love to go around on a bike. So that's how I decided that I'll do a trip. I'll meet my friends somewhere midway, and while returning, I'll be staying with them also for a few days.
That's very, very amazing, and kind of you, Devvrat, to coming all the way here, meet me. It has been a very interesting conversation.
Definitely,
Good
sir.
meeting you, Devvrat, and for all of you listening to us, part of the Litmus family or otherwise, feel free to drop in if you're in Gurgaon. Drop us a text. Our helpline contact is something which everybody has. So drop in a text, connect with us. Come to meet us. Very happy to meet you over lunch, dinner, breakfast, whatever is something that you want to do. But meet me with so much achievements, and it gives so much pleasure that I can't describe. So thank you, Devvrat.
So for me, I'd like to thank you and the entire team, because for me, had it not been for you and the team, I would not have achieved this, because all the domain sessions, all the interviews, mock interviews, they were also very helpful. They've helped me shape my answers. That entire journey helped me to where I am today. So I give that entire credit to your team and you, because that's something that has helped me a lot.
Thank you so much, Devvrat, but I would also return the credit. It's your efforts, and I would also want to congratulate your family. The family, I believe, is the biggest pillar, in this entire journey of preparation, because they are typically the strengths that people
Yes, sir.
have, and and through this, I would really want to congratulate all the achievers this season, their families, and absolutely proud of you guys, and very, very happy to have a winning team this season as well. And we'll keep winning, we'll keep fighting, we'll keep doing some great stuff, and we'll keep coming here, interacting and sharing what we've learned, so that everybody can do well. Devvrat, great interacting with you. It was so lovely having this conversation and the breakfast.
Yes, sir, definitely. It was a lovely morning and it was a good conversation.
थैंक यू सो मच देवव्रत. आई एम श्योर इस जर्नी में कुछ फन चीज़ें भी हुई होंगी. कुछ तो फॉर एग्जांपल रात वाले सेशंस हम जो करते हैं, जो हम रात्रि सेवा करते हैं.
So Ratri Sabha was actually fun. उसमें when I started with the Ratri Sabha sessions, तो already आपका session had started. I joined a little late, but जैसे ही मैं उसमें आया, first 2 sessions for me it was, by the time I could read the questions, there were people who had already answered, and you would say, okay, we've got the first 20 answers, we're moving on to the next question. So for me it was from that, barely I'm able to read a question to being able to answer the questions. And also throughout this entire journey, the humor that you've created, that has really been a part, because a lot of times when I was taking my sessions, I would be sitting on the dining table and my parents are also there, and you'd crack some joke, my entire family would be laughing. So it was always fun, and today my dad can actually recognize your voice that okay, you're attending a session. So those were things which were actually fun.
Yeah. So thank you, Devvrat, and very lovely having you here.
Same as well.
God bless, keep doing well. We have the preparatory sessions for MBA also starting.
Yes,
So
sir.
we'll have all of you in the preparatory sessions for MBA, wherein we'll be covering everything that you require from an MBA standpoint, and we would have Excel, basic, advanced, statistics, economics, master class for every domain. Coverage for case competitions, a case competition challenge also with prize money as well. You will have the description of all of this, and beyond that, helping you prepare your CV also, beginning looking at summers which are going to come in. So we're going to have a lot of fun. This season is going to be completely packed, and we'll keep learning and we'll keep growing. Thank you so much, everybody. God bless. Take care. Keep learning, and bye bye.
Thank you sir for having me.
Thank you, Devvrat. Bye bye.
you.